I will be speaking on the landmark judgment of the five-judge bench of the Supreme Court in the matter of Gurbaksh Singh Sibia versus State of Punjab, reported in 1980 to SCC 565. The matter involved a question of general public importance on personal liberty and the investigational powers of the police. Section 438 provides for the scope and ambit of the powers to be exercised by court while granting anticipatory bail. Any order of bail can be effective only from the time of arrest. The term anticipatory bail is a misnomer, as the appellant herein, Gurbaksh Singh Sibia, was a Minister of Irrigation and Power in the Ministry of the Government of Punjab. Grave allegations of political corruptions were made against him and others, whereupon applications were filed before the High Court of Punjab seeking anticipatory bail under Section 438 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. Considering the importance of the matter, the learned single judge referred the matter to a full bench for its decision on scope and ambit of Section 438. The full bench of the Punjab and Haryana High Court rejected the application for bail after summarizing the scope and ambit of Section 438. The High Court held an 8 points proposition, wherein point number 1, the High Court held that power under Section 438 of the CRPC is of an extraordinary character and must be exercised sparingly in exceptional cases only. The second proposition it holds that neither Section 438 nor any other provision of the Code authorizes the grant of blanket anticipatory bail for offence not yet committed or with regard to accusations not so far levelled. The third proposition it holds that the power under Section 438 is not unguided or uncanalized, but all the limitations imposed under Section 437 are implicit under Section 438 and must be read into it. The fourth proposition is that in addition to the limitations mentioned in Section 437, the petitioner must make out a special case for exercise of the power to grant anticipatory bail. The fifth proposition it holds that a legitimate case for remand of the offender to the police custody under Section 167 of the Code can be made out by the investigating agency, or a reasonable claim to secure incriminating material from information likely to be received from the offender under Section 27 of the Evidence Act, then power under Section 438 should not be exercised. The sixth proposition it holds that the discretion under Section 438 cannot be exercised with regards to offences punishable with death or imprisonment for life unless the court at that stage is satisfied that the charge appears to be false or groundless. The seventh proposition it holds that the larger interest of the public and state demand that in serious cases like economic offences involving blatant corruption at the higher rungs of the executive and political power, the discretion under Section 438 should not be exercised. And 8. Mere general allegations of malafide in the petition are inadequate. The court must be satisfied on material before it that the allegations of malafide are substantial and the accusations appears to be false and groundless. With respect to these 8 propositions, the matter travelled to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court gave out a landmark judgment wherein the Supreme Court does not agree with most of the propositions laid down by the Punjab and Haryana full bench. With respect to the first proposition, that the power under Section 438 is of an extraordinary character and must be exercised sparingly in exceptional cases only, the Supreme Court does not agree, and it holds that the true question is whether by a process of construction the amplitude of judicial discretion which is given to the High Court and the Court of Sessions to impose conditions as they may think fit while granting anticipatory bail should be cut down by reading into the statute conditions which are now not found therein, like those evolved by the High Court. The Supreme Court clearly and emphatically answered in the negative. The Supreme Court observes that the High Court and the Court of Session to whom the application for anticipatory bail is made ought to be left free in the exercise of their judicial discretion to grant bail if they consider it fit so to do on the particular facts and circumstances of the case and on such conditions as may require. Similarly, they must be left free to refuse bail in the circumstances of the case so warrant. The Supreme Court observes that there is no risk involved in entrusting a wide discretion to the Court of Sessions and the High Court in granting anticipatory bail because, firstly, they are higher courts manned by experienced persons. Secondly, their orders are not final but are open to appellate or revisional scrutiny, and above all, because discretion has always to be exercised by courts judiciously and not according to whim, caprice, and fancy. So, even if the Supreme Court were to frame a code for grant of anticipatory bail, which though is the business of the legislature, it could only lay down guidelines and could not compel blind adherence to such conditions. The concern of the court generally is to preserve the discretion granted without meaning to abuse it. With respect to second proposition, that Section 438 orders cannot be granted in a blanket nature or for offence not yet committed or with regard to accusations not so far leveled. The Supreme Court agrees with this proposition that a blanket order of anticipatory bail cannot be granted, as a blanket order would mean that any offence committed even in future, anticipatory bail could be granted to the accused. This is not the scope and ambit of Section 438 and such blanket orders could not be passed. With respect to third proposition, which says that the power under Section 438 is not unguided or uncanalized, but all the limitations imposed in Section 437 are implicit therein and must be read into Section 438. With respect to this proposition, the Supreme Court does not agree. The Supreme Court observes that Section 437 and 439 furnished a convenient model for the legislature to copy while enacting Section 438. If it has not done so and has departed from a pattern which could easily be adopted with necessary modifications, it would be wrong to refuse to give the departure its full effect by assuming that it was not intended to serve any particular or specific purpose. The legislature conferred a wide discretion on the High Court and the Court of Session to grant anticipatory bail because it evidently felt, firstly, that it would be difficult to enumerate the conditions under which anticipatory bail should or should not be granted, and secondly, because the intention was to allow the higher courts in the Echelon a somewhat free hand in the grant of relief in the nature of anticipatory bail. And therefore, the Supreme Court does not agree that the conditions or limitations mentioned under Section 437 should be read into Section 438. With respect to the fourth proposition, that a limitation mentioned in Section 437, the petitioner must make out a special case for the exercise of power to grant anticipatory bail, the Supreme Court does not agree. And it says that adding such limitations would reduce the valuable power conferred by Section 438 to a mere dead letter, and therefore such reading down of Section 438 is not the correct way to interpret the scope and ambit of the powers to grant anticipatory bail. With respect to fifth proposition, which says that a legitimate case for remand of the offender to the police custody under Section 167 is made out by the investigating agency, or if a reasonable claim to secure incriminating material from information likely to be received from the offender under Section 27 of the Evidence Act is made out, then the power under Section 438 should not be exercised. With respect to this proposition, the Supreme Court says that an order of anticipatory bail does not in any way, directly or indirectly, take away from the police the right to investigate into charges made or to be made against the person released on bail. So a grant of anticipatory bail does not come in the way of the investigating agency, and the investigating agency can independently carry out the investigation without being influenced by the order of grant of anticipatory bail. Further, the conditions can be imposed granting anticipatory bail on the accused or the offender to, to cooperate with the police and to assure that he shall not tamper with the witness during and after the investigation. While granting relief under Section 438, appropriate conditions can be imposed so as to ensure an uninterrupted investigation. One of such conditions can even be that in the event of the police making out a case of a likely discovery under Section 27 of the Evidence Act, the person released on bail shall be liable to be taken in police custody for facilitating the discovery. For similar reasons, the Supreme Court does not agree that anticipatory bail should be refused if a legitimate case for the remand of the offender to the police custody under Section 167 of the Code is made out by the investigating agency. With respect to the sixth proposition, that the discretion under Section 438 cannot be exercised with regard to offences punishable with death or imprisonment for life unless the court at that very stage is satisfied that such a charge appears to be false or groundless. The Supreme Court does not agree with such a proposition, and it says that reading the limitation imposed under Section 437 Clause 1 should not be read into Section 438, and therefore in certain cases, even if the offence is punishable with death or imprisonment for life, anticipatory bail can be granted. With respect to seventh proposition, that the larger interest of public and state demand that in serious cases like economic offences involving blatant corruption at the higher rungs of the executive and political power, the discretion under Section 438 of the Code should not be exercised. With respect to this proposition, the Supreme Court observes that even if the Code has a third eye, the court cannot assess the blatantness of the corruption at the stage of deciding anticipatory bail, as it is too premature to suggest that there is blatant corruption committed by the accused or the offender. Further, the Supreme Court observes that denial of bail amounts to deprivation of personal liberty, and therefore the court should always lean against imposition of unnecessary restrictions on the scope of Section 438, especially when no such restrictions have been imposed by the legislature in the terms of that section. With respect to eighth proposition, which says that mere general allegations of malafide in the petition are inadequate to grant anticipatory bail, and the court must be satisfied on material before it that the allegations of malafide are substantial and the accusation appears to be false and groundless. The Supreme Court observes that it is understandable that if malafides are shown, anticipatory bail should be granted in the generality of cases, but it is not easy to appreciate why an application for anticipatory bail must be rejected unless the accusations is shown to be malafide. Discretion, therefore, ought to be permitted to remain in the domain of discretion, to be exercised objectively and open to correction by the higher courts. The safety of discretionary power lies in the twin protection, which provides a safeguard against its abuse. The Supreme Court observes that Section 438 is a procedural provision which is concerned with the personal liberty of the individual who is entitled to the benefit of the presumption of innocence, since he is not, on the date of the application, convicted of the offence in respect of which he seeks bail. And therefore, the cardinal principle of criminal jurisprudence that the accused is to be presumed innocent until proven guilty should be invoked in his favor. An over-generous infusion of constraints and conditions which are not to be found in Section 438 can make its provisionals constitutionally vulnerable, since the right to personal freedom cannot be made to depend on compliance with unreasonable restrictions. And the Supreme Court finally observed that the beneficent provisions contained in Section 438 must be saved and not jettisoned by imposing unnecessary restrictions on the scope of Section 438. The Supreme Court finally leaves the High Court and the Court of Sessions to exercise their jurisdiction under Section 438 by a wise and careful use of their discretion, which by their long training and experience they are ideally suited to do. The Supreme Court observes that the end of justice will be better served by trusting these courts to act objectively and in consonance with principles governing the grant of bail, which are recognized over the years, than by divesting them of their discretion, which the legislature has conferred upon them by laying down inflexible rules of general application. The Supreme Court finally lays down 5 propositions, which are as follows. Firstly, the anticipatory bail is a device to secure the individual's liberty. It is neither a passport to the commission of crimes nor a shield against any and all kinds of accusations, likely or unlikely. Second, if an application for anticipatory bail is made to the High Court or the Court of Session, it must apply its own mind to the question and decide whether a case has been made out for grant in such relief. It cannot leave the question for the decision of the magistrate concerned under Section 437 of the Code. As and when an occasion arises, such a course will defeat the very object of Section 438. Thirdly, the filing of a first information report is not a condition precedent to the exercise of the power under Section 438. The imminence of a likely arrest founded on a reasonable belief can be shown to exist even if an FIR is not yet filed. Fourthly, anticipatory bail can be granted even after an FIR is filed, so long as the applicant has not been arrested. And fifthly, the provision of Section 438 cannot be invoked after the arrest of the accused. The grant of anticipatory bail to an accused who is under arrest involves a contradiction in terms insofar as the offence for which he is arrested are concerned. After arrest, the accused must seek his remedy under Section 437 or Section 439 of the Code, as the case may be, if he wants to be released on bail.